Greetings, everyone. This is Josh, and we have another episode of Horror Hangouts tonight. And today, my guests are Jonny and Haley of Jonny Haley Day of Fun podcast. How are you two doing?
Doing good. How you doing? Thanks for having us.
I'm doing great.
Well, thanks for being on there. Now, both of you're in isn't it South Dakota?
I'm in South Dakota.
North Dakota.
I'm in North.
Okay. Okay, so
I live in Fargo. She lives in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, we're representing. Wow. We're representing both Dakotas.
Yep.
We're here.
There's a recent. I was gonna say there's another friend of mine on Slasher that lives in Fargo, actually.
Well, there you go. We gotta get Jonny. Gotta get Jonny hooked up
Small
on Slasher.
world.
Make some fun horror friends in the big city of Fargo.
Exactly. And I thought my city of Amarillo was small, so
yeah.
Let's tell us about your podcast, Jonny Haley Day of Fun. How'd that all start?
That started because John came to visit me one month. No, go for it.
Yeah, I came down for a music festival. They do a music festival in Sioux Falls every year called or what's it called? The Midwest. It's a Midwest Metal Fest. I think it's called something like that, or Slam Dakota. Slam Dakota is what it's called, and it's just it's like an underground metal fest kind of thing. And then I went to that, and then we were sitting around one night. We were just talking about. I think we were talking about who would win in a fight, a bear or a crocodile.
Yes, we were, and I forgot that was who would win in a fight, and then who would you? The other question was who would we rather deal with in the wild, a bear or a crocodile or a shark?
Oh, yeah.
What situation would you prefer to have to survive through?
Yo.
And that is where I forgot we were having that kind of conversation, because listen, we're horror and true crime fans, so why wouldn't we have a morbid conversation like that and enjoy the hell out of it, which we did.
Yeah, and then Frankie just had or Haley, sorry. It had a
either way,
a Zoom
I'm
recorder.
switching it up.
Yeah, sorry. I read it and I was like, oh,
no, that's what we're going with. Roll with it. It's Frankie's podcast network where I have all my other nonsense. So it's okay. It's a brand thing.
Sure. Yeah, but she had a portable Zoom recorder, and then she was just like, "Oh, let's just record this. Just why not?" And then we just kind of started it, thinking, why not? It'll be something we do every week. And then we just kind of started getting guests. It started out as more of just a conversation. And then we started having an interview, started having guests and interview stuff. We're going to start leaning back into the just conversation episodes, like throw them in every once in a while because they're fun. And then, but it's mainly
Jonny
just
get on to weird little shit, just random, insane conversations. And so we do enjoy that. But it's fun to bring people on so that we can sort of indoctrinate them. And then we can, we'll do more of our solo casts and be like, okay, now you come on again and we're going to have you just be a part of our insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of like what I'm involved with my channel here. First, it started off to where I just wanted to find other authors, other content creators, just if anything, give them some exposure or whatnot. Now it's evolved a little bit to where last month we had a group discussion where it was just, at that time, 3 of us just shooting the shit about horror. And I'll be having another one here in a couple of weeks where there'll be about 5 of us. So it's, so I have like the ones where I'm doing like this one where 1-on-2 or 1-on-1, but then once a month I'm wanting to have like one big group discussion,
like a panel. Very cool. I mean, that's a fun thing about so John also does No Small Stories with me, which is another podcast where we have more sort of formal interview. It's I mean, we're still pretty fluid in conversation, but we're more showcasing creators, entrepreneurs.
It's more like the career side of stuff. How do you do this for a living? You know what I mean? Like, what avenues can you do for a living and stuff like that? But that again, we have guests. It's a lot of writers. We have actors. Fun. We have scientists.
Yeah, but that's what's fun about it. It's like we can have the more sort of structured conversations, and like he said, more of the kind of career side of things, or the, introducing what people do, give them exposure like you talk about, right? And that's a big part of it too, like that building community and creating a space where more people can get their stuff out there, right? But then it's great to have, like, and then you have the day of fun, and like some of the other podcasts that I have that like John will jump in on and help me with sometimes too. It's fun to have those different content pockets that you can kind of go to, right? Because the more structured conversations are good because you want to get information out there. But then when you get to just kind of chill and hang out and just have a conversation, just a chat, just casual, like, people like, like that too. It's fun to kind of just relax and just have a conversation about things you like or whatever's going on.
Right.
Yeah. And then I'm
to also like mix things up too.
Yep. And then HALEIGH she's more on the writing side, and I'm a musician, so we kind of have two different outlooks of, like, different creative processes and stuff like that. So like the No Small Stories is it's an interesting thing because we can really put what we want to talk about in a bubble. You know what I mean? Like if you have a creative outlet, or you have a project you're working on, we can really turn the screws on that project. And then Day of Fun is just let's talk about whatever. If we talk about horror films and then segue into something else, it is what it is. We just kind of follow the path wherever it leads.
Well, and you get to kind of get to know people on a different level when, like, it's one thing to have somebody spit out a bio at you, right? And kind of tell you that, this is my stuff and this is what I'm doing and what I'm working on. But that's, again, what I like about having Day of Fun as another outlet is you get to have a more personal conversation and just find out, okay, what's it like to just spend a little time with this person? What's it like to just have a regular conversation with this person when you're not, trying to promote yourself or trying to do those things? Like, you want to have an outlet and a container for that stuff, right? But it's still the personal element, right? And that just having fun, having a good time. You got to have all of it, right? It's necessary to have all of it.
Oh yeah, and that's what I try to do with mine. I try to have it both be informative, but also fun at the same time, because I find it's one thing to say, well, I've done this, and that, but by giving the viewers a chance to get to know the person as a person, what type of person they are, that just makes them more endearing to the viewer, and that makes them more likely to listen to your podcast or buy your book or whatever.
Well, and that's, that's the great thing too. Ahead. Like it's like you're saying, you give people a chance to resonate with you on not just like what you put out there, but on a more personal kind of level, right? Because I think sometimes when you know someone as a person, some of their creative things or the things that they do or the projects they put out might make more sense if you know about them. Right. So it might be easier to connect to their content or their material, writing, whatever it is, their music, when you know as a person where they're coming from. Right. Like having that story helps you to understand the creative things that they put out. And so like that's another thing that I like about it, getting that sort of the extra flavor that you get when you get to know a person on a personal level.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have like the really interesting guests, like we interviewed a dentist, and he was Merle Haggard's dentist. So the other day, so interesting people, he's
a musician, but like he creates music, doesn't really put it out there, just kind of gives it away. Like creates this music in a studio at his house, but what he does by day is that he's a dentist, and I'm like, I just think that's great. That's when you meet people who are just super interesting like that. And it is. It's like the things that you wouldn't expect. Like how many people go through his dentist office and they have no idea that he makes music, like it's just, I love it too. When you find those like really interesting facets that people put together.
Oh yeah. So what kind of, how did you go about finding your guests that you have for your show? How's that whole process starts by finding your guests, I guess?
Well, like we reach out to people on LinkedIn. I hook up with people on LinkedIn a lot. So Haley Overseth on LinkedIn, Frankie's Podcast Network everywhere, but go find me and message me. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Unfortunately, I don't know, but that's where it's at. But just connecting with a lot of people that way, but sometimes organically. I mean, I'll meet people like when I'm out and about, and I've had them come on to podcasts and be guests. Like I've just, been out and met them and been talking to somebody. John, went out and reached out to some people. He found Stacy, our sex coach, sex expert, who was like super fun to talk to. Yeah,
watch
she was
that
a good
one.
Yeah,
it was. She was a lot of fun, and I just go ahead, John. Yeah, I think it's fun when you get like something.
I was just gonna say that's kind of like how our podcast is too. We'll have that one week, and then like I'll have my friend on from my childhood. That's a English teacher at Kalamazoo, University. It's kind of weird. It's whoever wants to talk.
Well,
we're interested in anything.
That's right. Johnny and I do not discriminate. We want to talk to everybody about all the things. That's for sure, for true.
There you go.
Yep.
What kind of like I guess
Oh, I know. I think
preparation do you do for your podcast? Obviously, you probably have to do some research in the.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, you're cut out just for a second there, but that's okay. That's me and my energy. I zap technology.
I would say you guys cut out too. It happens.
That's all right. That's the thing that happens. No, like we do.
As far as
oh no, sorry. Yeah, John,
as far as like preparation, Haley, she'll find a guest and we'll book them. We'll book them on a date, and then we usually just have a meeting that week. We have a meeting on Thursday, and then we kind of do an hour dive on this person. I usually keep it kind of like I don't really do much research until that hour, and then we'll write up. We have usually 6 questions, a series of 6 questions that we come up with just based on if it's your career life or whatever you want to talk about as far as projects coming on, stuff like that. We'll kind of mold the conversation around what you want to talk about or what you want to get out there. Mm-hmm. And then we have a small meeting before the podcast itself, just to touch base on what we're going to say and stuff like that, do a little bit more research, and then we kind of just do it. It's a little bit of research, and it's a little bit of just jumping off that diving board and doing it, Haley, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I do like that element of it. And John and I have talked about this, like I will check out people and I will reach out to people who I think they have like that stuff looks interesting. But like we do that, like you said, that meeting so we can we want to get to know a person, but we want to have enough curiosity about that person too, so that when they come on, it's, and I think in a lot of it seems like we get a lot of people that have come to us who are kind of maybe in that space where they want to present like new projects or new things that they're doing. And so, like he said, we want to tailor it to what works best for you. Like we really love learning about people, but we also want people to be able to like use the episode to like, if someone asks about your projects or asks about the work you do, like we want you to be able to point them to, this podcast episode. Hey, go check this out. I talk about all these things. Like we want it to be something that allows people to showcase their work and themselves. Right. And then again, with the Day of Fun stuff, it's, we want them to be able to, if you want to showcase that more personal side, like we want you to be able to steer the episode too, so that you have that available for your fan base, for your brand, for your content, for your whatever, right? Like so we want it to be a mutually beneficial thing. We love hanging out with people. We love meeting them. And yes, we create content for our own YouTube channel and for all our stuff, but we want other people to benefit from being in the space with us too.
And the most important thing is just having fun.
And then we have like we've
fun
had
with it, I've found.
Oh no,
yeah, for sure. And then like sometimes we'll have the actors on that like they'll have they'll have restrictions on what we can talk about. We kind of just work on that like on the fly, like projects they're working on that we know about because in talking, but they can't really, it's kind of hush hush. But like we've had Mark Christopher Lawrence on. He's an actor comedian, and he had a few things that we couldn't talk about, restrictions and stuff like that. So it's like we kind of work around anything. And then I don't know, we're just happy to have guests. It's fun to meet people. It's fun to talk to people from different walks of life. And yeah, I don't know. It's meeting people every day and then talking to them on podcasts. It's just interesting.
Yeah. It is, and you get different perspectives on things. And I always think it's fun to be able to sort of like bring up perspectives that I have on something and sort of, you know, okay, here's this. Like, for example, Dr. Joe, our buddy Dr. Joe, our astrophysicist friend, right? Like I do science fiction writing. And so it's fun for me when we've had him on and he will like indulge us a little bit in the kind of wild conversations that we want to have, right? Like the science fiction speculation type stuff or like wild questions about science. And so like, it just,
I'd say humble us more than anything.
Oh yeah. Dr. Joe knows his stuff. Yeah. But I love it. Again, like what a great thing that we can just like call up, because there was something actually, and I have to talk to Dr. Joe because I just saw something on Instagram the other day that was about space that I was like, wait, what? Dr. Joe needs to explain this to us more, you know? And so it's fun because then you get to meet those people that they have a certain knowledge base about something that when you have a question that comes up, you're genuinely curious about, you can be like, hey, what do you know about this? Where should I look for more information on this? Because, you know, the rabbit hole that the internet can be is sometimes you get good intel and sometimes you don't, right? So it's fun also to have someone who's got like a subject matter knowledge of expertise that you can kind of be like, hey, what do you know about this stuff? And like bring them on to talk about it. You know, it's just a fun thing to be able to kind of explore more of these things you're interested in and have more people who you can kind of bounce these ideas off of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no. You imagine having someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson on if you want to talk about astrophysics.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah,
but by something similar to that.
Well, we just had a lady named Gypsy Jules, and she is like a professional like treasure hunter and stuff like that. And that was an interesting conversation just about what she found and stuff like that. And she's been on a few shows, so like it's I don't know, like treasure hunting. It was interesting to find out about that.
Well, right, because it's one of those things that I wouldn't have thought until I was checking out her stuff and looking at her YouTube and her LinkedIn page. Like, I wouldn't have thought that there were people who legit made like a full-time living off of going and doing treasure hunting things. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's one of those things that when you were a kid, you were like, yeah, I want to be a treasure hunter. I want to be a pirate. I want to whatever, right? Like, so I love meeting people who are doing fun things and that's what they do for their living, right? Like I love to be able to create a space where you can showcase that and show that is a possibility and an option out there, right? Because not necessarily it's like think outside the box, right? The things that we all think are available as the things that we can do. If you're not happy with it, there's treasure hunting out there in the world that you can actually do. There's all kinds of fun things you can learn to do and go try out. John and I are thinking about we need to go get some metal detectors and go looking for gold or something.
Try it out.
I know my wife wants us to go to some thing in Arkansas where I guess they have gold like that. Or diamonds or something. They have like a diamond mine or something like that. You can go and find them. And I'm like, well, I guess that's something we could do at some point, I guess.
Yeah, why not? Go diamond hunting. That sounds like a good time. I would love it.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. It's like
Okay, well now we just need to find
you find you can keep. I think the thing about it is
you can keep.
Who runs that thing? We need to talk to them. I need to talk to whoever runs that little resort game fun time space. We gotta Johnny boy, we gotta get that set up.
Imagine you could probably Google it and eventually find out who's in charge of all that.
Yeah, like, hey, there you go. We can take a trip.
Yeah.
We'll just show up with some
they're getting.
We'll go.
I want to say I heard about it in the news. Like I think somebody struck it big.
I mean, great, good for them. Let's go down there, have a trip ourselves. We could record it all for YouTube and strike it big on the lives. It'll be a grand old time. I'm excited.
That sure will get a lot of likes and a lot of subs for sure, I think, and some shares to go along with that.
I mean, if we find a big giant diamond, yeah, that would be super cool. I would love it.
Oh yeah, showcase that. So
for sure.
if you had like an ideal
what would you do with the money?
Or guest,
what would I do with the money? I would hire a podcast editor.
If I'm just,
I'd buy a
saying,
castle.
if you found a diamond, what are you doing? First thing, what are you doing?
You buy a castle where?
What about you, Haley?
Oh, I would get a podcast editor, and then I would get our
either
RV.
like in Scotland.
There you go. Go get yourself a castle.
Or Romania. One of the two, either somewhere in Eastern Europe or in the UK.
There you go. I love it.
Change your name to Vlad.
Yes, 100%. Just start over with a new persona. I would get an RV and I would get with my dog and get in the RV and I would just go travel across the US, just going, just wherever, just see where I land and bring on some podcast equipment, right, Johnny boy? So we can keep the show on the road.
Yeah, I think we discussed this like a day ago, where it's not that unrealistic. Our dreams, I guess you could say. I just want an RV to travel and do podcasting. If I could pay for that, there you go. Dream met.
Like 100%. If we could just go get in an RV, go travel, go check out places, and 100%. I guess the first thing we got to do is get with Gypsy Jules and go diamond hunting, and we'll pay for a new van, and there we go.
Heck yeah, and I'll join in on that one, because it wouldn't be so nice if all we had to do was just podcast, write books, and that's it, and not have to worry about having regular jobs.
Yes, 100,000%. Yes, I do my art, do my podcasting, do my writing, and the rest of it's just gravy. Yes, let's all manifest that together. Let's hunt for that diamond. That's what we're going for.
Right. It's doable. I mean, you just got to be modest. It'll work.
Just keeping at it. It'll be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun for sure. So let me ask, if you could have anyone, it doesn't have to just be one person, but maybe one or two dream guests on your podcast, who would you like to have on your podcast?
Oh, that's kind of a tough one, because I really do enjoy having people on who are not necessarily big mainstream people. Like I enjoy creating an outlet for, so what I would love? I would love it if we could be the podcast that helped people get discovered. You know what I mean? I would love to be able to be. So here, you know what? That's who I'm going to pick. I would pick Bert Kreischer, because Bert Kreischer, we talk about this all the time. They're that podcast lifestyle that they have, where they can boost people up because they've got such a great following. That's hashtag life goals. Having that kind of situation where you can uplift other people and you can help other people to prosper and thrive and do well. I just think that's really great. The energy of that is something that I really love about Bert Kreischer and his podcast brand and the way he does things and the element of fun, right? That it's fun and they have a good time. And that's such a big part of what they do. Injecting all that good, fun, happy energy into what they do and bringing more people in. That is definitely, I think, the dream for me.
I think mine would be, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson would probably be up there. And then also maybe Graham Hancock. I'd probably have him on there.
Oh,
that would be. I would love to have Graham Hancock on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the comedic route. I would like to. I mean, who wouldn't love to have a Dave Chappelle or a Bill Burr? To have a conversation with.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Johnny, so I know you want to talk to. I know you want to talk to Joey Diaz. I know you do.
Oh yeah, Joey.
Joey Diaz would be great, but he would be a hard nut to crack, like to get him on. You know what I mean?
I mean, listen.
But I mean,
what
I don't know. I'm very
to
happy with what we've had so far. Dream guess would be great, but yeah, it's Edward Norton would be
that's
wild.
why we call it a dream.
You know?
Oh no, dreams do come true.
Yep.
We're gonna come back to this episode later. No, Edward Norton. That's such a like. Where did that name
it
come
kind of
from?
ties into the horror film discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love Edward Norton. It's just
I do too.
Good actor. Like also, and another actor is going to come into play in the horror conversation, but Warwick Davis. I would love to interview Warwick Davis.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, we also love.
I think I know where that's leading to.
Well, okay.
Oh yeah, you would have to.
No, I was gonna say I know that but we also love Warwick Davis on the Idiot Abroad series because we dig the Idiot Abroad series too with Carl Pilkington.
Yep.
See, I've not seen that
Willow
yet.
Yep.
It's interesting how different people know Warwick Davis from. I know him from being in Return of the Jedi. And then people a little bit younger from me might know him from Willow. And then people also know him from Leprechaun and on and on and on. It's interesting how you know people from different things.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Johnny. That's Johnny Boy's horror wheelhouse right there is Leprechaun.
Well, let's shift gears to that. Obviously, you're both fans of horror.
That's Oh, go ahead.
And was that something with you two being siblings? Was that something that helped bond you two? You think growing up?
Did we watch? You know what? Now that you and I we watched Blair Witch together. When I first watched Blair Witch, it was at your house in Wishick. That was the first time I saw Blair Witch Project. Was it we all watched it in Wishick?
We watched the I mean, we had all those films. We had the Halloweens. We had the Blair Witches. We had those old cult classics and stuff like that. The Friday the 13th. We had Freddy.
It was kind of a thing.
A big one.
I was gonna say we weren't allowed really to watch movies like that when we were at Mom's house, right? But when we went to Dad and Cindy's the weekends, then we could watch movies like that. So that's where we got. To, and that's also where we got to play video games and hang out.
It was the opposite for me. My dad wouldn't let me watch this stuff, but when I go to my mom's.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah. No, you're good. I was gonna say a big one was Jason versus Freddy when I was growing up, and then I remember there was those. I wouldn't even call them like horror films, idol film things. And then we had the Blair Witch and stuff like that. Well, I would say we watched that, and then later on when we started doing podcasting, we had every October we do some runs through some horror films. Well, I can't remember which film we watched. Which one did we watch last October?
Awesome.
Oh, well, that's something that we just would have fun with watching spooky movies. Yeah. Oh, we talked about 30 Days of Night was the one that
30 Days of Night
is a big one that we enjoyed. But yeah, I think we bonded over probably video games and Top Gear is where Johnny and I bonded over those things. And I think horror just happened to be a thing that we both just liked. And we just, have kind of incorporated it into the podcast because we do like watching. Because I'm really big on weird B horror movies, right? If it's bad, I want to see it. Mm-hmm. Which is why I loved Willy's Wonderland so much because it was purposefully ridiculous, and I just so appreciate that. It was silly hammed up on purpose, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
What would you say your favorite horror series might be?
Oh, Johnny loves Leprechaun.
I would say Leprechaun's up there. It's either Leprechaun or...
I'll let Johnny go first on this one because I think I know what the answer is.
Actually, I'd probably say Leprechaun. We'll just go with Leprechaun.
Man, horror series.
What'd you when you first saw that, was it just a thing of this is so out there, it's awesome. Is that kind of like the feeling you had when you first watched those movies?
Kind of. I like my thing with horror movies is I like the weird. Like I like the weird and cheesy ones. Like in Leprechaun, I think it's Leprechaun 2 or 3 when Michael McDonald gets his face melted off by the espresso machine. It's just it's fun and it's just cheesy and it's good. Or when he like cuts that person in half and he's supposed to be an illusionist and then he opens it up and he just presents it.
Oh my God.
It's just I like comedy horror if it has a good spot, you know, if it has a good place. But then I like the Friday the 13th and stuff. I wasn't big on the first couple, but the last, you know, they were or the ones following. I think the first 2 were pretty good. I thought.
So from
but
part
Leprechaun,
3
I would
on,
say is up there. I think it was Jennifer Aniston's first movie. That's a
talking about like the weird
Yeah.
and silly though. Like that's why
I'd say part 3. And yep.
No, that's why I love Killer Clowns from Outer Space because it's just so ridiculous. Like they wrap people up in cotton candy and stick silly straws in them to drink the stuff.
Yeah.
And like it's wild and weird and ridiculous, and that's why I like it.
Yep.
They shoot popcorn at people. I like I like that. Make my horror movie also ridiculous.
Yeah. But that's basically, that's what the Leprechaun gave me. Just that zany, weird comedy. Like the part of the Leprechaun when they're trying to get away from him, they start throwing shoes because he was a cobbler and he starts shining shoes. It's just, it's so stupid, but it's great.
That's why there's another one I love like that. That's Dolls. That I don't. Johnny, did I make you watch Dolls yet? Okay. Yeah. When this chick gets blown away by toy soldiers, I just like it's hilarious. I'm sorry. It really is. You know, like this lady who's fighting off a bunch of killer dolls with little knives. Like I have to laugh. Right. I think it's amazing. And the effect too. I'm such a sucker for like the old school effects. I'm such a sucker for like the CGI stuff just gets so like kind of like overproduced, you know, when you can look at something and you know somebody had to claymation make that stuff. I love that kind of thing. Or like the makeup and the props and knowing that like there's craftsmanship that went into it. I love that.
Mm-hmm. And like with the Leprechaun, I remember that series.
Yeah, because like, bad CGI can just be.
Yeah, but like I remember that series giving me like nightmares just because it was the ugliest thing ever. And then it was just, you know, it was funny though because of the one-liners, but it was just so creepy. Mm-hmm. But go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
I was gonna say because nothing. If you got really bad CGI, it can just ruin the whole movie oftentimes. And it's like you guys should have just went with the practical effects. Exactly. I watched a movie not long ago. It was Dark Harvest, the newest version of it. And I watched that and like the movie itself wasn't bad, but the CGI gore in that was so awful that it just took me out of the whole movie.
Yep.
Right? Like if there is something that is fun about, like you say, the practical effects when you have, even if they are like unrealistic in some ways, like it brings you so much more into the fun, I think, when you can see that, like, again, somebody had to make that. Somebody mixed up all the corn syrup and red dye to make that blood, you know? Like that is, I do enjoy that so much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's like the best kind. So Haley, what are some of your favorite horror?
Oh, those are definitely some of my favorite. Like I am such a monster movies fan. Like Lake Placid, I will watch Lake Placid over and over and over again, even though I am terrified of the idea of being in water with crocodiles. Like it's something that I dream about all the time, being in water with crocodiles. Yep. But I love that movie. Like Oliver Platt in that movie. Like the characters are all so great. Again, the comedy moments that you have in that movie, like Betty White, who is feeding cows to a giant crocodile. I just think it's so great. But it just so stuff like that. Like I am a sucker for a good monster movie. Like or the any like, Pumpkinhead is one of my favorites too. Like I watch Pumpkinhead. I love Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein though. That's another of my favorites. Like I watch that every Halloween. Like yeah, I love those. Like the classic black and white horror movies too. Like I love those. I love me some Vincent Price. Like that old school stuff too. I dig it.
Yep.
That's what I started on was all those old black and white ones.
No, yeah, like I remember my dad.
You have the weird like. Then you have like the weird monster movies like Hatchet, and it's just out in left field. It's just they're on like a tour, and then all of a sudden they see this deformed guy come out with a hatchet out of the weeds. You know what I mean? It's pretty.
I love it. What's the Johnny Boy?
Kind of like with Terrifier now.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. What's our favorite one though? The cave diving one. Whoa. Not Insidious. What's it called? When they get with the cave diving one with all the weird white. They go the Descent. Thank you. That one. With all the ladies that go do the cave diving and the weird creatures in the caves that are eating people.
Yeah.
Like that I think like that is one that I think is like such a well done horror film. Like that first The Descent and like again having those monsters in there, but also having the like really great jump scares, having the really great storyline that's in there. Like the way that they worked in so much drama into the storyline while following this disaster vacation in the cave. I just love it.
Yeah. And then they're blind. They can only go through hearing or sonar.
Right. But I love that kind of stuff.
Stuff like that.
It's like the 30 Days of Night thing, though, with the vampires that are sort of like they're systematically doing what they're doing and you don't figure that out until later kind of thing. Right. Like it's that element of there's something a little bit different to
they make it look like an accident.
Yeah. Like I just having that kind of extra, like I thought that was another one that's like a monster movie with, vampires being like a traditional monster sort of thing, but done in a different way.
Yeah. Well, I look at movies like The Descent,
that whole concept,
and then you look at newer movies like A Quiet Place. It's just like a lot of movies are kind of going, a lot of movies seem to be kind of going that way. Like monsters can hear you. You got to be quiet and stuff like that. I thought that was interesting when I saw the trailer for the new A Quiet Place.
I don't know why I just thought about that. So you talk about like, no, you're good. I just was thinking about Chud. Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say Chud? Like, it's just a ridiculous.
I remember Chud.
What does that even stand for? Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, right? Like, I don't know what just made me think of that off of like Johnny Boy is talking about again the really well produced, well done like horror movies that are on the like higher end, and then I'm gonna go to the underground, really awful produced. Oh, that's okay. That's all right. That's appropriate for me.
Well, that's the great thing about horror. There's something for everyone.
That is true. That's very true. Horror there's so much available in like horror, right? Like there's
because there's like so many different subgenres that.
Yeah, no, it's so like there's a question. What's some of your favorite
depends
subgenres?
on the mood for it sometimes. Like
sometimes you want to watch a ghost supernatural movie, and sometimes you want a good slasher movie.
I would. Yeah, exactly. It's like a few nights ago, I decided, all right, I want something goofy. So I watched this movie that I hadn't seen before. And yes, I'm about to use the F word on here, but who cares? It's called, Don't Fuck in the Woods. That's the name of the movie. So I know it's my channel. I can say anything I want. But then last night, I wanted to watch something a little bit out there. Oh, yeah.
Last night I wanted to watch
Possession, which is just this. Yeah.
No, that's actually really great advice.
As far as my subgenre, it'd be probably overall the vampires. But.
I watched recently.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched recently. Talk to Me. Have you seen that?
Wait. Okay.
Yeah. I saw it last August, September.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's a vampire.
I thought that movie was brilliant. It was like it's more of a like a dead, like seeing dead people kind of movie.
Oh, okay.
Like possession almost.
Oh, is that the hand thing where they grab the hand and you can like?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta watch that. That one looked interesting to me. I do enjoy that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, and like I like how horror movies are kind of going that way. They're just kind of like, I like new ideas. Slasher films are great, but like that, I thought that was a really good movie. There's a movie coming out called Long Legs that I saw previews for that looks really good. It's a Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ideas being thrown around right now.
Ooh, that's a podcast guest that I would love to have as
Late
Nicolas
Night
Cage.
with the Devil.
Yeah, get me Nicolas Cage on the podcast. Who wouldn't want Nicolas Cage?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I know that one, but I do like that too, though. Like horror movies that have a new sort of angle, right? Like something a little different, something a little unusual.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of Nicolas Cage's thing now. He's making all these weird horror films, like Mandy was really weird, and then was it A Color Out of Space or something like that? It was just he's kind of, I don't know. He dug his heels really into the weird as of late.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad for that.
He needed the money.
But again, I'm glad it happened that way because look at these awesome movies that are coming out with. They're fantastic. Like I think they're great.
And say what you will about Nicolas Cage, when he does a movie, you can tell he puts 100% into every performance he does, no matter how bad the script could be or the movie be. He puts it all in there.
He goes full, and you know what? I think that's what helps to make the movies better is that he just leans right in, and it shows, right? Mm-hmm. Like it absolutely comes through in the quality of what comes out. Like, and again, Willy's Wonderland was just such a. It could have been bad, but you had Nick Cage in there, and he just did what he did so well. And the weirdness element of so many things in Willy's Wonderland too, like the pinball machine thing, and his drinking the sodas, and like just those little weird idiosyncrasy things that they pop in there that are just like, what the hell is that? Like, I just love that stuff.
So what are probably your favorite?
Yeah, I thought that movie was weird just because he had no dialogue. They could have had whoever they wanted.
Oh, no, right, exactly. So, I don't know. Johnny, what would your subgenre be? Vampires are cool. I dig the ghosty stuff.
And
I'm
Cage,
a monster. I would have to say monster movies. Just give me a Bigfoot,
Monster Girl.
Give me a Loch Ness, give me a cryptid.
I would say
What's yours, Johnny?
Yeah, I would say probably monster movies. I do like vampire movies. I would say like it has to be. I don't like the paranormal movies, like the new style of paranormal movies where it's like nothing pulling people into hallways. I'm not a fan of that at all. I like creepy, like monster, movies, stuff like that. I like to see what's about to, ruin your day, as you could say. I guess vampires are fun, but I like more of a animalistic vampire than a romance kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like I want to see like a 30 Day of Night vampire over a Interview with the Vampire.
I
and once
do
again,
like that.
Depends, because I like this with the vampires. It really any genre, because sometimes I'm in more of the supernatural, demonic horror, like Hellraiser for example, which is kind of hard to classify that one because a lot of people consider that slasher, but it really isn't, except for maybe the third one. But once again, it just depends on my mood. Sci-fi horror, I'm probably a big fan of, like The Thing or Alien.
Oh yeah. See, but I would put The Thing and Alien also in like monster movie category.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but like, yeah, I was gonna say, like, back to the Leprechaun series too, the later ones where they ran out of that Warwick Davis money. Not my thing, man. Where it's just a creature with like no personality kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's just more of an animalistic creature. Warwick brought the pizzazz. He brought the charisma.
Brought the fun.
You know.
Love it.
He's gonna rip your head off, but he's gonna say a funny one-liner as he does it.
Yeah, and it's gonna be great.
Makes me wonder how much funnier the Terrifier movies would be if Art did talk. It's a funny one-liner after he brutally murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, bring in the comedy. I think
that's half the movie with the leprechaun.
But maybe it's better that he stays silent. I don't know.
What is that? There is another.
It definitely throws in a menacing, creepy vibe to it. I do like that vibe as well too, you know.
No, I was thinking about there's a movie I watched with I think Vince Vaughn where it's like a horror movie where he trades bodies with he's a serial killer, but he trades bodies with a teenage girl. It's got like a Freaky Friday thing going on where they swap bodies and the teenage girl is stuck in the serial killer's body, who's Vince Vaughn. Like that one I love too for the silly comedy elements that come from it, right? Like they have the horror thing going on, but it's very sort of like Tucker and Dale versus Evil or Cottage Country, right? Like where it's horror movie meets comedy. That's some of my favorites.
I always liked Idle Hands. If you guys ever saw that one, that's kind of like, I love that one.
Idle Hands is great. Oh,
yeah.
I'm watching the Chucky series right now.
Yeah.
And the main character is the guy from Idle Hands.
Oh, what's that show?
Oh, cool.
What's that show you're watching?
Chucky, I think it's fun. It's Chucky. It's a TV series. I think they're on 2 seasons. It's on 2nd season now. I think it's on, I want to say Paramount. But it's
okay.
Yeah, it's just Chucky, but a series instead of a movie, and it's pretty good. But he plays the president of the United States, the main character in Idle Hands.
I love that. That's fun. Is that Devon Sawa or so? I think that's who that is, right? Yeah. I was just thinking about him the other day. No, I was just thinking about him the other day because that's like he was like hot shit when I was in middle school. He was one of the like hotties that all my friends and I were in love with back in the day.
Yeah.
So, that's an interesting thing too, because probably my hotties growing up might be way different from yours. Because I don't know your guys' age group, but I grew up in the 80s, so it's like my hotties were way different than even some of the other fellow guys. They like pin-up models, and I like horror actresses. So I had like cut off pictures of from Fangoria of whoever, Ashley Lawrence, Heather Langenkamp.
Well, I was just gonna say, who doesn't love Phoebe Cates and Gremlins, right? Do you remember Gremlins?
Oh, for sure, yeah. That's another good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, I always like. One of my favorites was Eliza Dushku in Wrong Turn. I really liked that.
Yeah, man.
That movie was pretty good in my childhood. I really liked Wrong Turn. That was an interesting one.
I
didn't think it was her best performance, but I liked Winona Ryder in Dracula, in Bram Stoker's Dracula. She was pretty hot in that.
Oh, okay. I mean, Winona Ryder. Yeah. Winona Ryder and Christina Ricci both like bow down to they kind of have like that Elvira energy going a little, but like, and the Wednesday Addams kind of like, I love it. Give me some of those like spooky ladies. I love that.
Oh yeah.
Very, very cool.
Alrighty then.
Yep. Well,
so Haley, tell us about your book that
I'm thinking of like horror movies. Oh, I was going to say, just thinking of horror movies with all women cast. What is it? The Craft? Do you remember the movie The Craft?
Yes.
I just thought of
The Craft with Fairuza Balk because
I can't
love
remember the actors' names in it. Yeah.
Oh no, like that's
The Craft was huge. I remember that when I was a little kid.
The Craft and Practical Magic. That's why all the ladies who are like millennials my age are into all that witchy stuff, just because of The Craft and Practical Magic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that's a better witch movie than what's the Halloween one that everyone loves? One with Bette Midler. No,
yeah, Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. What do you think is better, The Craft or Hocus Pocus? And I know that.
Well, it's kind of that thing of like they're different. They're different.
Oh, Hocus Pocus, 100%.
Oh, you're gonna pick like I just think it depends on the mood you're in because Hocus Pocus is a little bit more kind of the silly fun, and the Craft is a little bit more for when you're like just genuinely pissed off and want to hex.
Yeah, that might not have been a good analogy, good comparison.
No, but I mean that's a good one.
Well, I just think Hocus Pocus
the Craft might be.
I don't know.
I don't even know what you could compare the Craft to. Now that I think about it.
No, but that's it's
maybe Lords of Salem. That's what the Craft girls would be like when they're older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. But sorry, I know I interrupted.
What are your thoughts on Rob Zombie movie? Rob Zombie movie when he comes up.
Oh, what was your question about Rob Zombie?
I said, what's your favorite Rob Zombie movie that he's made, and what are your thoughts on him as a director?
As a whole, overall, I think he does a pretty good job. The fact that when he released House of 1,000 Corpses is at a time where horror, that at least I felt, had gotten too clean, almost too sterile, and him along with James Wan, who brought in Saw about that same time, kind of made horror dirty and dingy again. So for that, I'll always, like that. House of 1,000 Corpses is one of my favorite movies. Devil's Rejects is good. I didn't like it as much as House of 1,000 Corpses. It was more of almost like a, I guess more of a thriller than it was a horror, if that makes any sense. I thought he did a good job with the Halloween remake. Not perfect. There's some things I think he could have left out. The second one, I understand that there was a lot of studio interference from what I've been told or have heard, because I've heard Daniel Harris talk about it quite a bit. There was Rob Zombie almost quit directing that in the middle of the movie because the Weinsteins were just being themselves, basically. I thought Lords of Salem is a very underrated movie. For some reason, a lot of people don't like that one. 31 was okay. And The Monsters is all right, just a little bit too long, I thought. So that's my general, but I've always look forward to seeing what he's going to come up with next. At least with The Monsters and even Lords of Salem, those were movies that showed me that he could do different types instead of doing the typical grindhouse style that he normally does. He can do something a little bit different. I'd like to see what else could he do? Could he do like a gothic vampire flick, or I'd be curious to see what else he could do. But yeah, I'm fine with him. I know a lot of people hate him, and I get it because some of this stuff might just not be people's cup of tea.
No, but I mean, I think
he makes fun horror movies. I think 32 was fun. I think it was called 32.
Or what I think he said 31.
31.
Yeah. I think, I mean, that kind of says a lot
31,
about
yeah, there you go.
Just how the big mainstream Hollywood, and how, again, that's kind of why we like to do what we do with the podcast, is that there's so many people out there doing really great work and interesting things that it doesn't get picked up by the people who are like looking at the bottom line and how commercialized can we make this? How do you get this to the widest audience possible, right? Like it really it waters things down so much, right? So that's why, again, I really love that, to be able to create a space for people who are like really creating, really leaning into what they are creating, and not having those filters that come from having to be like approved by what are, powers that be that are going to give you the budget to do the real good stuff,
Watered down version.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a place for those mainstream titles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's do another Scream movie, another Halloween movie, whatever. But that's fine. There's a place that brings more people to the horror genre. But I wish smaller, more independent films, they're more of their just due. When you think of a movie like When Evil Lurks from last year, that might have been one of the most popular horror films last year. And that came from, I think, Argentina or Brazil. I can't remember. I think it was Argentina. I think it was Argentinian. Yeah, I just mispronounced that. It was from Argentina, basically. And that was like one of the more popular horror films from last year.
Okay.
Well, but that's, again, I think it speaks to how much people really want to experience something different. And it's part of why, like international film can be so interesting when it comes to horror, right? Because there's a lot of different cultural things that you get to explore when you see, like one of the ones I'm thinking of is La Llorona, which is, like the Spanish version that I watched, right? Which kind of gives you like a background a little bit into like a different kind of lore than maybe you would know from just, the kind of things that are in your normal sphere, right? So like, I love that when it comes to like international films, that you kind of get to learn a little bit about the culture of another place through seeing what they consider to be horror, right?
Oh, yeah. You can see that, too, with a lot of the older Italian horror films from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, how, well, those Italians just did not give a fuck. There's nothing they wouldn't do in a movie, and, which is weird because, I think Italy, it's where Rome is, where the Vatican is. You think they're all a bunch of good Catholics. Obviously not.
No. I
remember I saw a horror movie from Italy. I think it was Italy or it was Spain. But I think, or two actually, like Pan's Labyrinth is great. But there was one I saw when I was in high school, and it was a movie. I can't remember the movie. I think it was like a zombie. I can't remember the name, but it was a zombie movie. And if you remember, at the end of it, he's in a theater and he's using a lawnmower to kill a bunch of zombies. I don't know if that rings a bell. That's kind of all I have from it. But
I like
that was a very laughable,
Sounds
cheesy.
Good.
Like,
I'll have to figure that out. I haven't seen all of them.
That's very like Army of Darkness.
Yeah, I'll have to figure it out
the
too.
Evil Dead. Like, I love that kind of stuff too. Oh my god, like there needs to be more Bruce Campbell in horror movies. I have to say, I need some more Bruce Campbell horror movies before he kicks the bucket, please. Get him in more stuff.
Yeah, we need a few more films out of him. Definitely.
I think so.
Yeah. But as far as like international films too, I would say Pan's Labyrinth I really, really liked. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah. So, I think it's about time. It's about time to call it an episode.
We can.
So let's see. Both of you are on Instagram, correct?
We are. Yes. Go check us out.
So what we'll do is I'll make sure to have your links down.
And check out Frankie's Podcast Network on YouTube and come visit us and see all of our podcast fun stuff we do.
All right. Yes. Absolutely. And make sure to check out their material. They're really good. And thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it. It's been fun chatting with you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And we will. Excellent. All right. And we will see everyone next week then. And have a good one.